You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. And today we have an exciting podcast for you because we have none other than the man, Alex Nickens, on the phone with us joining in. Alex, what's up, brother? How we doing?
Hey, Brian. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Awesome.
Excited to share my story with you.
Dude, this is really, really cool. A lot of folks might know, but I don't know if a lot of folks really do know, but man, you and I, we talk a lot behind the scenes. Like we get to catch up a couple times a year. I always enjoy our conversations. I'm low-key kind of jealous of like your mechanical mindset because you know how to fix and repair probably any piece of equipment under the sun, and I always appreciate that skill set. But dude, like I'm just excited about having you on the show. We're going to be talking about trucks. We're going to be talking about equipment. We're going to kind of get greasy on the podcast because you're a mechanic, dude. You can hold your own with a wrench. So why don't we do this really quick before we jump into it? I got to get your background, your stats, kind of like where you're at. So why don't you take a quick minute, introduce yourself, man, and let everybody know what you got going on.
Yeah, so for those of you guys that don't know me, my name's Alex Nickens. I'm in Southern Illinois. We're about 30 minutes east of St. Louis, and we do lawn care and landscaping similar to Brian. We do quite a bit of hardscaping. We've been diving into that area, so it's been fun for us, a huge learning curve, but it's been good for us, good for business. We just moved into our new shop, which is a 50 by 100 commercial building. It's in an industrial park, so that's been another huge learning curve for us, but just a small landscape company with slow, steady growth, and things are going good for us.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Well, you and I, we were talking before we hit the shiny red record button, and we were just cutting up, and we were both talking about how you and I both don't have a filter. we are both just straight shooters, man, and so I can't wait to just start asking you some good questions. Hopefully, dive deep a little bit into your business, what you got going on. So before we get too far ahead, let's hit the announcements, and then we'll jump on into it.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, man. So you're over in Illinois, right? You're in like the southern portion of Illinois. Is that right?
Right. Yep. Not all the way down at the south, but like I said, we're right by St. Louis. If you go basically directly east of St. Louis, right across the border, the Missouri-Illinois border there, that's right where we're at. Okay.
Are you like a country boy? Are you like in redneck country, or are you? What do you guys classify that as?
Well, it depends who you ask. But
right.
No, I am definitely country. I wouldn't go as far as redneck. I try to keep it somewhat classy, but I would say
that means bow tie, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, some people would definitely classify me as a redneck. Like you said, I'm a mechanic. I get greasy. I've always kind of been that way. So it depends who looks at me, but I can definitely be classified as a redneck, but I know how to be classy too. So yeah, I got a couple different sides.
Well, it's funny right now because on Instagram is the Dolly Parton challenge or whatever that is, right? And it's like the Facebook, the Instagram, the LinkedIn, and then Twitter or whatever it is, right? And I've seen the greasy Alex Nickens on Instagram and just wrenching, always on the GMCs, right? And and I'm like, that's the Alex Nickens I know, and then you know, you got the girl, and then I've seen you clean up, you know, on Instagram too. And I'm like, you know, got to do the double take. I'm like, is that Alex? Like, he looks like he's going to prom. You know what I mean? So I'm just having fun. And I'm the same way, bro. Like 8 to 5, my wife won't touch me with a 10-foot pole. You know, I get in, I smell like gas and fumes, and you know, I got bloody knuckles, and she's like, who are you? Like, what have you done with my husband? Right. And then we go on out like afterwards to dinner with the family to a concert, or you know, we go to you know, Benihana's or a steakhouse, and she's like, it's like, you can dress it up and you can dress it down. I'm like, that's right. So I think
depends on the day, baby. Depends on the day.
Hey, whatever you need me to be, man, I can do it all, right? So,
amen.
So
I always tell people it's in that 30-minute shower. You know, when you get home from work, it's like that really decides who you are. You're either going to stay dirty and filthy, or you can clean yourself up. And I always joke with people, because I keep my nails clean, even though, you know, I get filthy and whatever. I always scrub my nails in the shower. People are like, how are your nails so clean? I'm like, dude, every day when I get home, it's 30 minutes minimum. Okay.
Takes some effort.
What it takes.
Oh my God, dude. It's funny, man. I always say clean image always, man. You got to have that clean image,
Amen.
you know? That's awesome, man. Well, let's do this, man. We got to rewind, because I know a little bit of your story, but I don't know the whole story. So I know you like I always call it like post YouTube, right? And so I don't know the Alex Nickens the first 5 or 7 years, but I'll tell you straight up, the first time I knew of you is you had a video. And back then, we'll call it viral, because like I think you had like 400 subscribers maybe. And you had that enclosed trailer video that went, it did like 20,000 views. I don't even know, right? All I know is that it got promoted to me like 5 times. I ended up watching it twice, and it was about how you have your enclosed trailer set up. I think maybe your brother was in it. I don't quote me, but I know you guys were running some Ferris mowers, and it was something about fall cleanups. And I was like, who is this dude? Like, this is like infancy YouTube of lawn care, right? And so that video got like 20,000 views, which might as well have been like 2 million today, right? Because now your YouTube channel's huge. You're like a megastar with YouTube. That's how everybody always says it, right? And I know you and I are just like, dude, we're just nerds with cameras, right? Because we don't.
You're the megastar, Brian. I'm a mini star. You're the megastar.
Yeah, right. There's always a bigger fish, right? People are like, you're a social media influencer. I'm like, I'm a micro influencer. I'm like, you want to Stanley Dirt Monkey? He's a social media influencer. So.
Right.
But anyways,
there's always bigger fish. You're right about that.
Always a bigger fish. That's why I'm forever # always humble, But so that was really my first introduction to Alex Nickens and Nickens, Lawn and Landscape. But so how did you get started? What's your story? What's the unabridged version? We got some time. So how did you get started doing lawn care landscaping?
Yes. So I got started like a lot of people, but it's kind of a hard road. So I started with a little pickup truck. I had a Chevy S10, for those of you guys that know what those are. I had my mom's push mower. I had an electric weed eater with about a 20-foot cord, so I couldn't weed eat everything. And then I had a push broom, maybe, 18, 24 inches, all wore out, missing a lot of the bristles. I think it had a broken handle that I duct taped. Right. So literally, that's how I got started. It was a $1,000 truck, and the rest of it was our at-home lawn mowing equipment. So I think I had 2 lawns. It was the summer of
69.
It was my senior year. Yeah, summer of 69. Brian's favorite degree. Right. I think it was the summer of my senior year. I had 2 lawns, and then by the end of the summer, I was at 3 or 4, still rocking the same equipment. I think by the end of the summer, I got a blower. That was electric too.
Nice.
I don't remember. Someone gave me that. I don't remember where that came from. But I ran that way, and I also had another job. I was working at a horse farm. So I had steady money, but that was just a little bit of extra money. And at the time, I think it was like $30 a lawn. They would take me like an hour by the time I got done and did a decent job. And I was charging, I don't know, 25 or $30. Sure. And at my other job, I was making $15 an hour. So I thought I was getting rich, getting $25 an hour for sweating my, what off all summer. But it was, that was my intro. And then slowly but surely the next year, I didn't take it very seriously. I did, I don't know, maybe added 2 or 3 lawns. But then the following winter, I decided that I wanted to really get into it. So the first 2 years, I wouldn't really consider those being in business. Yeah. It was more of people that I knew needed their grass mowed type thing. So, but that was how I got into it. And then, like I said, the next year, I don't think I had my job the next year. I was still playing hockey at this time, and I was in college. So the next year, that's all I did. And I think I was raking in whatever, $250, $300 a week. And I was like, hey, I'm not really taking one day and I'm making $300. I'm like, if I could do this every day,
right.
And then get that kind of mindset going. And then, like I said, that winter, I decided that I really wanted to dive in. I made some flyers. I got some magnets for my truck, got a couple T-shirts. And that's when I really started trying to promote it. And the best thing I ever did was got on Facebook.
Okay.
I started posting on there saying, I'm now cutting grass, whatever. I think this was 2012, maybe January, February 2012. That's when I officially started. But I went on there, made a flyer, like I said, T-shirts, truck magnets, and just kind of blasted on Facebook that I was going to be doing light landscape jobs and mowing people's yards or whatever, residential yards. And one thing led to another, and here we are. And now everything's changed for me, and I would say that we're a legit landscape business, but a lot of hard road in between. But that's pretty much where we got started. And I also worked for a landscape company
really
back in the day before the horse farm. So I knew a little bit of background in landscaping, but I never paid really too close attention, I would say, while I was there. I was just kind of collecting a paycheck, so to say.
Right.
But I learned the basics. I learned how to use a shovel, how to push a heavy wheelbarrow, and we did pavers and stuff along those lines. So I had a little bit of intro into that stuff, but I never, like I said, took it too seriously. So when it came time to do that stuff in my business, it was kind of time to relearn and actually learn, I should say, and figure this stuff out. But I do think it's fair to mention that I did have a little bit of background, but it's not like I went and worked for somebody, learned everything, and turnkey, put it into my business and started making money with it. So
Very cool.
a little bit of landscape background, but not really, more or less started as a little side hustle and then kind of opened my eyes to the money that there was to be made. And I've always been an outside person, so that was a no-brainer that I was going to eventually be doing something outside, or at least partially outside. So
for sure,
kind of all fell into place really, but it's been really good to me. And now we're, like I said, we're doing mostly landscape installs and hardscape, doing a lot of new construction type stuff and getting into the commercial new construction too. So
okay,
it's been a fun road. Excited to see where we go from here. But
dude, that's awesome.
I like where we're at. I'm comfortable where we're at. And to be honest, if we stayed right here for the next 15 years, I'd be happy. I enjoy where we're at. So
dude, I love that.
Bit of everything.
Yeah. How old are you right now? Are you 30 or under? Or
nope, 27. I'll be 28 in February.
Dude, that's awesome, man. Did you always know when you were like 17, 18, 19 that you were going to be an outdoors guy, or did you ever go to college, or did you just bypass that whole route like me?
Yeah, so I grew up in the country. We lived in the woods pretty much, so I was always riding my dirt bike and playing in the creek and fishing and doing all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I definitely knew that I was going to be an outside type person. But I did go to college. I went for 3 years. And I played hockey while I was in college.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much at that time whenever my business was growing. And my third year of college, the year that I quit, I finished my year out. I passed all my classes, all that good stuff. I didn't technically drop out. I just never went back.
Sure.
But I brought in more money than what the average person made for the degree I was going for.
Right.
So I decided that it was maybe time for me to go and time to focus on what I was doing. And I was having so much fun with the business and growing that and talking with people. I'm definitely a people person. So it was fun talking to all kinds of new people, meeting all kinds of new people. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who's in business knows that feeling. Making people happy. But it was just, I was having a lot of fun with that, really enjoying it. And I was turning down a lot of work because I didn't have time because of school and hockey. And I was kind of faced with the decision, so to say. I talked it over with my mom. She said, I wish you would finish school, but do whatever you want to do. And I did what I wanted to do, which was got out of school and focused on my business full time. And I believe that was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, because it was kind of that year was kind of a turning point for us. And
fork in the road. Yeah.
I met some people that if I wouldn't have been in that situation at that time, I don't think I would have met. And it was a game-changing year, to say the least. So that was when we really became a business, quote unquote. Took it to the next level. But
that's awesome.
It's been a fun road. And I will say this too, for anyone that is kind of faced with that same situation I was in. Not saying that you should drop out of college by any means, but like I said, I had that conversation with my mom, and we have not brought that conversation up to this day. So
Gotcha.
it was something that she respected, and she knows now that it probably was the right decision for me. So you're in that dilemma, and you can't face it, or you don't want to face it. Just know that college is not for everyone.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a podcast eventually on just college in general, and so it's going to be called it's Fullerton Unfiltered, and I promise you when I cut that episode it'll be unfiltered because I have some really strong feelings about college. So anyway, not to go down that rabbit hole on this one, but what were you studying though? Just out of curiosity, were you like a business marketing guy, or were you going like nursing? I mean, anything in between, or what?
So I was doing business administration, and it was just very general. So we were learning super boring stuff. If you're like me and you're an outdoor person and you're an active person, you're a hyper person, and you've ever been in any of those classes, you know how I felt. It's just
you're just locked up, just
like nails on a chalkboard. Some of it was interesting because some of it did, scratch the surface of marketing and things of that nature. So I did find some of it interesting, but most of it was just like
slow-paced.
I found myself every day just with my hand or my head on my hand, forehead on my hand on my desk, just like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, And that's how it was for 2 years. But I mean, to be perfectly honest, the only reason I did it is because did it as long as I did, I should say, is because I didn't want to let my mom down. I didn't want to be a college dropout.
Yeah.
And probably the biggest reason, those were definitely factors, but I was still playing hockey at the university, and that was my big thing. I've always been a huge hockey player, played my whole life, and I love the sport to this day. So I didn't want to quit playing hockey. So that kind of kept me there, but it was not for me at all. That's a fact. And like I said, I think probably one of the best decisions or best career decisions I ever made was getting out of college.
Cool. Well, no, dude, and I totally respect that. Like, I always tell people, like, don't be lukewarm, man. Like, if you feel like something's not right, you got like a splinter, I call it, like in your mind, and you're like, I got to get it out. Like something's going on. Like, make an educated move. Don't just, like you said, throw caution to the wind. But I can totally echo with what you're saying about college because, as a young man at 18, I hit that fork in the road too when I got out of high school. And my brother was in college to be an architect, and he'd already been going for like 3 years straight, like, crazy workload. If anybody knows being an architect, it's like getting a doctorate. It's insane. And so I saw all the challenges there, and that's what I thought college was. I didn't think it was like this 4-year, Michigan State burning couches party thing. I thought it was like, the plague, I thought it was, and you got to pay to go. And I'm like, well, I can't even sit still. I'm a fidgety kind of guy as it is. And you want me to pay $15,000 a year to be here or more? So, dude, I can totally relate because I just went right into the workforce. I was like, well, there's $37,000 a year sitting in front of me at 18 and a half years old. Like, what would you do? And so I just chased the money, and we've told our story on a different podcast. But well, okay, so let's. I know we're kind of jumping around on the timeline here. I feel like this is a Marvel movie, but so fast forward probably about 2000. 14, 15, 16-ish, you're running your landscape business, and then the first Alex Nickens video pops up on YouTube. What was all that about? What were you thinking doing that? Because, everybody knows you get started on YouTube to make millions of dollars, right, Alex?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, my YouTube career, if you want to call
YouTube millions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, of course, I live in a mansion. Don't you know that?
You didn't get your check yet?
But I still drive beat up old trucks. I don't know. It's scratching my head over here.
Amen.
No. So I started my YouTube, we'll call it quote unquote career in 2016. It was a big part of my younger brother, who, if you've watched our YouTube videos, you've seen Nick, Nick.
Yeah. I know Nick.
But he kind of enjoys the backside of things, the shooting, the filming, that kind of editing. He really enjoys that stuff. So
that's cool.
I always wanted to be on YouTube. I always watched YouTube pretty much since day one of my business. The old videos back in the day, the original Keith Kelfis, Stan videos, Greg Chisholm, I think that was his name.
Yeah.
Those guys, Geek to Freak.
Yep.
those original guys. So I was always watching it back then, and I always found so much value in it. I really enjoyed it. I found myself, I would watch some videos 2 and 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I was always in the YouTube circle, but I never left any comments. I never even created an account or anything.
Okay.
And whenever I started, I just felt like I had learned so much that I really wanted to do it. I talked about it for probably a year. My brother was like, I'll help you, I'll shoot you, whatever you want to do, we'll figure it out. And I was like, oh, and I always made excuses. Oh, well, you got to get a camera. And I just constantly was making excuses.
Okay.
And I didn't want to just dive in. I think it was more nerves of being in front of the camera in the world, seeing who I was, so to say.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the hardest part or the hardest hurdle to jump for sure. But it was something that I always wanted to do. I always felt like I had some value to give back. And I really that's kind of what it came down to, is I wanted to give back, because I felt like through the videos that I had watched, and there's a lot of there that I didn't mention, a lot of guys that I watched, but by learning from all of them, I felt like if they could teach people that much, and just one video could just totally change your mindset. So I thought if I could put some videos out there and help change some people's mindsets and just kind of contribute, is really what it all came down to. And ever since my first video, I've been hooked. I love it. I get very good feedback, and it's encouraging when that many people can like your stuff and like where you're at. And it's not always people that I'm above, or that I'm past, or that my business is bigger than, or whatever you want to call it. It's not a measuring tape. It's it's just fun, people that are way beyond, and way beyond my knowledge, way beyond my years, that'll comment on my videos and say, hey man, you're doing great, try this.
Yep.
So people will, just the feedback that we get through is really the reward. It's so much in both ways.
I call it that two-way street,
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's really rewarding feeling that, and YouTube's just been so fun for us. I love it. I don't think I'll ever quit.
Well, it's funny, man, because I tell people the same thing. Like I feel like I'm in a very, very blessed position, because I get to like dispense advice, but dude, I also get to receive it. And I always tell people, like, dude, my business like doubled in 17 to 18, and then doubled again from 18 to 19. And whether that went from 10 grand to 20 grand, or 100 grand to 200 grand, like it's irrelevant. But the bottom line is, like, I'm so thankful, because I get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments, just like you do, of people criticizing and critiquing. And 95% of it always comes back, like you just said, like as community, right, and encouragement. And of course, like there's the 5% of the knuckleheads, but the reality is that, like, I'm a better person because of like doing YouTube, because like you said, you get vulnerable and you put yourself out there, and people are like, well, why are you doing this, or why are you using that tool? Have you thought about this? And it's such a great sounding board, where I always tell people, like, if you were in my boat, your business would double too, man, with a million eyeballs looking at you and critiquing you every day in a good way, and so
right, definitely. And if there's ever one of the coolest things is when you have that many eyes on you and you have a problem, all you have to do is ask, and you'll get your answer. When you have
100%.
that many people, and I'm the same as you. Since I started YouTube, my business has grown tremendously.
Sure.
I don't think we doubled every year, but we definitely, I would say 50, 60, 70%. I don't know the exact numbers. I haven't put them side by side with that, but it's definitely helped us grow, and it kind of holds you accountable somewhat too. I mean, you got
100%.
You got to keep moving. You got to keep up. And
it keeps you sharp, really,
Yes, it does. It definitely does.
Well, and here's something that I would say, that, and this isn't like a pitch for everybody to do YouTube, because I mean, obviously, doing YouTube could be the worst thing right now for somebody, in their business. So I always say that like tongue in cheek, but that's what we both do. So, and that's how we got to know each other. So that's why we talk about it. But, one thing I always appreciate about you and your content is that it is different, like in a good way. It's completely different content than anything that I'm putting out. And I always look at like the lawn care community, or just the community in general, like, folks, everybody, fills a different role. And I do an analogy a lot on my podcast and my videos, like a jigsaw puzzle. And, everybody is a different piece that like all fits together to make this beautiful collage, right? And no piece is any more important than the next piece. They're all just pieces of the pie, pieces of the puzzle. Some are an inside piece, some are a corner piece. There's no difference. They're all created equal. But the cool thing for me when I watch you is I love seeing retaining walls. I love seeing. I'm a closet fanboy of outdoor living spaces, patios. I just went to my first Techo Block event, and I'm walking around like Hillary Clinton on stage, looking at balloons. Just just my jaws drop because I'm like, this is like my element, and I wish I had the business mindset and the acumen and the finances to do hardscaping. I know my lane. I'm not doing it, but I so appreciate it. And you're one of those guys that anytime I see like an Alex Nickens video about a retaining wall or an outdoor living space or a patio install or pavers, like the Evans Landscapes or the Caleb Allmans, I'm like, shit, dude, I love that stuff because like that's the stuff that I really, really like. I mow all day and I'm zipping around people's back patios, right? And I see their pergolas, I see their fire pits, I see all this stuff. And so when I do build a home and we get an outdoor living space and backyard area, I can't wait to make it like, something out of a magazine because I've got all these millions of photos saved on my phone, right, on Instagram, and I get all this inspiration. But I say all that just to say, like, watching you've filled such a role and need in YouTube, from like the newest guy to a guy running a $500,000 a year business that somebody can relate to. And the equipment you use is entirely different based on your business model. Like, you're a big GMC and Chevy guy. You're big, you use box trucks, right? Maybe this can be a segue into talking about equipment because, I know, like I said from the beginning, you're majorly mechanically inclined kind of a dude. And I don't know where you pick up that gift, or if probably it was just out of necessity, to be honest with you. But can we crack down that road for a little bit? You got some time to talk about equipment and all that mess?
Oh, I could talk about equipment for days. That's one of my favorite subjects.
Sure.
Most definitely. Well, depends on the day, I guess. But
yeah.
Quickly, I am pretty mechanically inclined. Humbly say that, but my family was a lot of mechanics. I've been turning a wrench since I was 5 years old. I painted cars whenever I was 7, 8 years old.
Cool.
I've always been around a shop of some sort, a wood shop, a machine shop, auto body shop, whatever. I've always been kind of in that circle. So it was kind of, you called it a gift, but it's kind of more of just in my blood type thing. It's just kind of what I've always been around and what I know. But it has kind of been as a necessity, like you said. We have all diesel trucks now. And before we had diesel trucks, I knew absolutely nothing about diesel trucks.
Sure.
I had diesel skid loader, but other than that, nothing. So it's definitely been a lot because of necessity, but it was also something that I just always had. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's equipment is a very exciting subject to me. It's what I love. I love equipment. Sometimes I think I should have been an equipment salesman. No,
Nickens Lawn Landscape dealership, right? Selling it all.
Yeah, exactly. Outdoor power equipment. No,
right.
No, that's not me either, because I can't be inside all the time.
Sure.
But I really enjoy the equipment. I appreciate it, and it's exciting to get new pieces. But for what we run, like Brian said, we're all GMC Chevy trucks. And again, that's just what I know. That's what my family's always had. And it's just kind of what I've always ran with, just because that's kind of the way it's supposed to be, right? It's like being a sports fan. You can't be a Cubs and a Cardinals fan, or you can't be a Philadelphia Flyers fan and a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, or
sure.
A New York Giants and a New York Jets, whatever. You gotta pick one. It's Ford or Chevy, or
right.
some are Dodge, I guess. But down here, you're either a GM guy or you're a Ford guy. So
okay.
GM's what we always ran with, and it's been good to us. We've had our issues, of course, but that's kind of what you get whenever you don't buy new trucks.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But
no, dude, I respect that skill set, man. Because I mean, I'll be honest, if anything happens on the truck, I buy new on the vehicles because I just take them in. And the mowers, anything happens on them, I buy new. I just take them in because I just burn them up, dude. And so I like warranty. I'm a big warranty guy. But all my hand tools, I gotta learn how to wrench on them, and I do. I know how to change pretty much anything out on any trimmer, blower, edger by necessity. And I don't I'm not a mechanically inclined guy, but I see you ripping apart like, some old Klassen aerator, that you find on like the corner for like $12, and you're like, yeah, just painting it all today and changed out the carburetor, repaired the flux capacitor, and now it's all back together, and just flipped it for 600 new to a new guy, and made $500 in like a day. And I'm like, damn, that's awesome, man. Like that's just really, really cool stuff to me.
Yeah, that's my disease, is buying broken stuff. I don't know what it is. It's the same thing for landscaping. I tell people this. In the winter, that's what I do. I surf Craigslist on board. But
right.
In the summertime, it's a landscape guy. If you see an old house and the grass is tall and the bushes are just 5 years overgrown, you can't see the mulch anymore, the rock, there's so many weeds. It's like you just want to get your hands on it and just make it better. It's like it's a disease for landscapers. I have that same disease for broken equipment. Sometimes it's
border hoarder, borderline hoarder, or I was
yeah, for sure.
I've seen
the reason to hang on to it, but
dude, the reason you had to get a bigger shop is because you have so much crap, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
It's true. Like I said in the beginning, we have a 100 by 50 shop.
That's awesome.
For a 2-man business, and this shop is stuffed.
well, let's do this. Let's keep going on it. We'll take a quick break. We'll hear from the announcements, but we got so much more that we're gonna unpackage with equipment, man, because it's a hot button for both of us. So let's do this. Let's take a quick break, and we'll hear from the announcements here.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
Hey, Alex, so one question I have for you, and this has just been a theme I've seen a lot on your videos, just kind of sparked a thought in my mind, was you've been talking about like using equipment, like old versus new is a kind of a really popular video title to do on YouTube,
Yes, definitely.
Comparing, like comparing equipment, like should you buy new, should you keep using old stuff and repair it? What's your take on all this? Because you've been doing a lot of these kind of videos lately. I know not everybody's mechanically inclined, but a lot of people are. And I think using old equipment is completely fine, man. Especially when you just get started in business or your first few years. And I wouldn't say old, but like used equipment, like pre-owned is what they'd say in car dealership world, being in Detroit. So why don't you dive into that a little bit? I'd love to hear your thought process, because I've seen the magic that you work behind the scenes, like we were just joking about with old lawnmowers and aerators and leaf vacs, right, and dump trucks. And I'm sure, realistically, dude, you're a business. I always tell people, like, you're in business and your goal is to make profit. I don't run a nonprofit on anything I do. I'm not that rich. So everything we do, we need to make money, right? So, but the bottom line is, like, buying new can just crush you financially, dude. It's not always the answer. And so why don't you dive into that? Because you're my expert when it talks about resurrecting things that folks would otherwise probably pitch out or throw away or just sell too quickly, maybe. And getting another 1,000 hours out of them,
Yeah, so this has been a really hot topic. Winter, as we all know, in the lawn care landscaping world, hardscaping, whatever you do, unless you're big into snow plowing, I guess you're not sitting around right now. But for a lot of us, especially as you come more south, this is the time where everyone reflects on their business, right? You get to sit down for at least a couple weeks and kind of review everything. You got to do your taxes. So you're going through all this stuff. This stuff's all in your head fresh. And when it comes to equipment, I think it can be, it's definitely person to person. It can be different, but you're not wrong either way. But I will say, if Brian, like yourself, someone who admits they're not mechanically inclined or they're not super mechanically inclined, a lot of times it is going to be easier just to buy new. But you also kind of hit the nail on the head when you brought this up, when you first brought up this conversation, was if you're new in business, it's not really smart to go new, especially if you don't know anything. You're almost better off to get something used and to force yourself to learn some of these things, because especially the small things, the minor things, these are things that can just pay such a big dividend down the road when something goofy happens and you can diagnose it out in the field and keep moving. It's definitely a good situation to be able to do that, or a good position to be in to be able to do that. But it really does just depend on your situation. It depends on your skill set. It depends on your workload. So many things come into factor or come into play when you talk about this topic, but it's, it can just be a really hard decision to make. And I think that's why it's a topic that you can just go on forever, because everyone has different experiences. Everyone has, different needs, different wants. And I think that's why it's been a hot topic for me, why I have gotten a lot of questions on this, because if you go back and you watch all of our YouTube videos over the past 3 years, I mean, it's no secret that we've done some big repairs. We've done some big projects. And all of these, every one of those YouTube videos you watched, I didn't make a dime.
Right.
And that's where it's starting to register in my head, which, again, it comes into what you need, what you want, and your workload. And our workload is so great now that, to be perfectly blunt, I don't have time to be in the shop spending 3, 4, 12, 24 hours fixing stuff. I mean, that's all opportunity time that I'm not making money.
Sure.
And it's getting to the point for us where it's not working, having used stuff, because it is so expensive. But I'm also one of those people, again, if you go back and watch our videos, you know that I'm a person that doesn't like a lot of debt. And nothing wrong with debt. I just prefer to stay away from it if I can.
Sure.
So that's where I'm walking the line now. But at the same time, talking about debt, talking about a monthly truck or car payment, whatever you're going to have, I spent this week, well, no, I guess it was late last week. I think I bought all these parts on Saturday, but I spent like $1,200 on truck parts. And this is all parts that I had to have to keep these trucks moving. And that it was for 2 trucks. So that right there is more than a truck payment for the month. And I spent probably altogether close to 24 hours fixing all this stuff. I've still got a little bit out there to do once we finish this podcast, but that's where I'm really just having a hard time, because it's taking, and I am a mechanic, but I don't know everything. I mean, a lot of this stuff I'm getting on Google just like anybody else and trying to figure out what's going on, So,
sure.
It's just getting frustrating for me. And I think it's one of those things where I think I know my business is at the place now where we need new trucks. We need reliable stuff.
Right.
I've always bought new mowers, new weed eaters, new blowers, all that kind of stuff. Like you said, Brian, for the warranty. And those are things that I definitely know how to fix. But when you're running and gunning and you got, 50, 60 hours of mowing a week for 2 guys, and you also are trying to squeeze in some landscape jobs, you don't have time for this stuff to be breaking down. It's not, at that point, it's not about what you know, it's about what you have time for. And you really need to pay attention to that kind of stuff when you're in this boat. But like you said, Brian, you buy new because you just tear them up. You're going to use them. You're going to rack up the hours on them. And I think when you're in that boat, I think it's definitely wise to go new. Or when you're in the boat that I'm in, when you need these trucks every single day, and you got snowstorms or you got salt runs or whatever, it rains for 7 days or 8 days out of the week in the spring, and you still got 7 or 8 days worth of work to get done. You don't have time for your truck to be broken down. When you got to go, you got to go. So I think it's one of those things where I think I've waited too long. And a lot of people have said that to me, like, I can't believe you're still using these old trucks. And my trucks aren't like old beat up rust buckets. They look great. I maintain them well, but all my trucks are 10 years old or 11 years old, and they've got anywhere from 160 to 260,000 miles on them. So I think my trucks are old. They've been used, but I mean, they do still work. They do still look good, but they're costing me money, and it's
starting to get frustrating.
To pay all these. Yeah, definitely.
Well, you know what I think it really comes down to, like just listening to you talk about it is just like knowing. I always say like knowing yourself, or like knowing where you're at, or knowing your own business. Because I'll be honest with, like, me buying a used truck, if it had 30,000 miles or less, like that's probably a really good choice. But me buying a truck with 149,000, and it being a diesel, probably Pandora's box. So, or you know what I mean, or 300,000 miles, let's say, right? Because you just got to know your strengths. Like if you're just getting started, and like that's why I always say like everybody's situation is always different. You got to you got to know yourself, know where you're at, and kind of know the next couple chess moves, if you will. And buying a new mower is like could be completely the right decision, could be the completely wrong decision. You could be here in Metro Detroit, it's not uncommon to see a guy with an $80,000 Mercedes or BMW on the side of the road. It's like, dude, what happened? He's like, oh, flat tire. And I'm like, well, don't you know how to change a flat tire? It's like, you guys in an $80,000 Mercedes. And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, book smart, not street smart, right? And I'm not like trying to be mean or put that guy down, but it's like the same thing with like a lawn care business owner. If you just know where you're at, there's no right or wrong, but you will not succeed with a lawn care landscaping business without cutting your teeth somewhat on being mechanically inclined, whether it's how to change the pull start on a trimmer or blower, how to, the simplest stuff, man, how to change a lawnmower blade. Like you can't do this industry without getting a little bit greasy and dirty. I'm just going to be honest. And I see sometimes pretty boys come in, and I'm a pretty boy, but I still like, that's the thing that nobody really gets to see. And I try to capture that on YouTube as much as I can, 8 to 5. But like, dude, when I come home, I look like garbage, I am muddy. I am greasy. Like my fingers, like you said, I have bloody knuckles, not every day, but there's times where I'm like, dude, I've used, the black and gray, what's it called when you mix it together, the cement, the Bondo stuff. I've used Bondo stuff. I've used electric.
Oh, JB Weld.
Yeah, JB Weld. JB Weld is my secret vice, man. I can fix anything with JB Weld. I can fix a 2-way World War II radio, man, with JB Weld. You know what I mean? So like I've used that stuff. I've used electrical tape, duct tape, man. Like I use little clamps from like hoses. I've used the little rings that you get from your car keys from the dealership when they just attach them for the quick attach. And I've used those little rings to like hold like hundreds of pounds of equipment together. I'm like, I just need another 10 minutes or another hour. We did a landscaping job once with a tractor, and the damn pin on the elbow of the bucket, just where the scissor is, where the ram was, like completely fell out, like gone. I'm like, well, we got about another 12 yards of mulch to move. I'm renting this tractor for the day. We can't, like, there is no option but forward, right? When you right. There's no calling mom, there's no calling, your buddy. He might be able to help, but dude, at the end of the day, like, it is, your brain gets really creative when you get in those binds, right? And I think we actually used the hitch pin from our drop, to wedge that those two parts together on the scissor of the front end loader of the truck of the tractor. And dude, we kept it going. Like it fit like 90%. I was like, well, put a little grease in there, a little WD-40, it'll be all right, We did tell Home Depot rental that. So, but anyway, so I agree with you, man. Like you got to know where you're at equipment wise. Are you always going to be a GM Chevy guy, or is that just from your experience? Are you brand loyal? Are you equipment loyal? Or are you more like hey, whatever moves the needle for Alex Nickens, that's who we are? Because I get that a lot. Yeah,
I'm pretty brand loyal, I would say. And touching real quick on what you said, like just making do and getting inventive. The more times you do that, the better you're going to be at it. And anyone that's been in this business for 3+ years, let's say, has had to do that a lot. The bigger you get, the more you have to do it. So if you if you hate those times, if you fear those times, if that's the worst time, then you just have to start doing it more, because it's not going to go away, and it's eventually going to rip all your hair out if you can't figure out that kind of stuff in a little bind. So I would say to be in this industry, you have to at least be inventive, and you have to be able to just make things work. Sometimes it is what it is, but that kind of leads us right into your next question. No, go ahead.
Dude, I was just gonna say, like, it's gonna eat into your profits. I mean, like, at the end of the day, like, if I got to take my mower up to the dealer, it's $80 to $100 an hour for just the labor hours, right, plus parts. And I love supporting my dealer. Trust me, I love my dealer Weingarts, but I'm in business for my family first, and I think that's where people like lose it. Like they, especially when you start making a couple bucks. I'll be honest, that's the second pitfall in life I see, is that when you start making a couple bucks, you start getting fancy. You start trying to solve problems with money instead of grit. And you're like, oh, I'll just buy. You start making some good money with your lawn landscape business. You start buying 15 grand mowers like they're Cheetos at the gas station. And it's like, no, dude, like you don't need the shiniest new stuff. Like keep paying dues. There's a quote out there. I love it. It's one of my favorite ones. It says, you never quite own success. You can only rent it, and rent is due every single day. And so
that is one of my favorite quotes of all time. I'm glad you brought that up. I love that quote.
I mean, dude, I remember that every day, because I'm like, man, like just because, and I always say life is a, what have you done for me today life. Like nobody cares about what you did yesterday. Like you're
100%.
only
Yesterday's the past. Forget about it. Well, you don't forget about it, but you know what I'm saying.
Dude, 100%. Like you're only as good as your next YouTube video. You're only as good as your next podcast, and whether you like it or not, like it is what it is. Like hopefully there's a legacy that gets built along the way. But at the bottom line is like, man, you gotta work for it every day. But yeah, I do. You are my equipment guy. To me, you're the equipment guy. So we're going to talk about equipment for another minute, because I want to talk to you about your affiliation with Ferris Mowers, man, because you put them more on the map. I won't say like you're the main reason, but I didn't even know Ferris Mowers exist, and Ferris Mowers has been kind to me. We've done some demos with those guys. Just great people behind the scenes. If you ever get to meet the Ferris team, the Briggs team, they're just great people. And I got to meet a lot of the brass at this last GIE. Just so you know, Alex, it was so cool to just meet some of the folks, and I'm not going to name names. I do hope to have them as a guest on the podcast, because they just have, dude, I mean, such a macro worldview, because they're just running, $1 billion company or whatever they are, right? But you were the first guy that I saw Ferris. Like if I said Ferris, I think you and probably Richie Plemons, and both good buds of mine, right? You and Richie. So did you just get started with Ferris because that's what you have access to, or did you like know them when you were working for your previous landscape company and, well, that guy used Ferris, I'm going to buy Ferris, or how did you come up with those decisions and running the Z2 or the Z3? I know just great units out there. We don't get to talk a lot about equipment on the podcast, so open mic on that one, man, if you want to take it.
Yeah, definitely. So Ferris, for me, like I said, when I got started, it was a push mower. It was my mom's push mower, but I was always paying attention to what was going on, paying attention to the market. Every time, the commercial, quote unquote, lawn care company would drive by with the big zero turns and the big walk behinds and all the racks and the dump truck or whatever, I was always just glued. My eyes were, I was always paying attention. And Ferris has, ever since I started paying attention, which was 10 plus years ago, Ferris has pretty much controlled a good portion of the St. Louis market. And I think if you go back into some of their statistics, this is one of their biggest markets and always has been. There's a couple good dealers here. I think the dealership that sells the most Ferris mowers in the country is located in St. Louis, actually.
Okay, makes
and
sense.
that isn't my dealer, but they've always been really big here. And a big part of it for me is my dealer is only about 10 minutes from my house and about 15 minutes from my shop. So
Sweet.
To me, that's really, really, really important, having someone close by that you can trust, that you know is going to be there when you need them most. So for me, that was probably one of the biggest reasons that I went with Ferris. But there's also an Exmark dealer probably 20 minutes away, another 5 minutes past that.
Okay.
And then there's a Skag dealer about 15 minutes away. And that Skag dealer is actually where I get my steel handheld parts. So I definitely have options, but those are the big three around here, definitely. You don't see a lot of John Deeres, anything like that. You see a few Snapper Pros, not a big right stander market. There's hardly any of those here. So it's kind of the big three here are definitely Exmark, Ferris, and Skag. I would say Exmark and Ferris definitely take the load of that, but I would say there's definitely more Ferrises here than anything else. So it was one of those things where it's just always what I saw. So my first commercial mower I ever bought was a brand new Ferris 52-inch.
Nice.
And a fun side note, that was the only loan that I ever took out until recently when I got my new skid steer. But my mom loaned me some money to buy my first mower, and I've tried paying her back a dozen plus times, and she just won't take it. She says that was the kickstart to my career. So,
Oh, that's funny. Thanks, Mom.
It was it was a cool thing. At the time, I had a brand new mower. It was like,
hold on. You know what that is, right? That's like her investment into you as a 401k. Just so you know, like
yeah, right. That was the beginning of everything.
She's gonna be on the payroll when she's retired. You know what I'm saying? So.
Oh yeah, well she definitely will be. She'll be here doing something. My mom's a very successful woman, so
that's awesome.
If she wants to come here, I would take that with open arms. But
Organize the Nickens boys, you know, still.
Amen. But my mom's, for those of you guys that know me, I'm a hustler. Just another little side note here. But my mom, whenever we grew up, we were poor, we were broke, and she hustled her way up, and she does very good now. So
that's awesome. I'm a mama's boy.
Super fun to see that. Oh yeah, my mom means the world to me. Anybody ever touches my mom, we got problems.
Amen.
Or says a bad thing about my mom. So
amen.
My mom's a great person, but yeah, back to the equipment. So Ferris mowers, just kind of control the market here. So it's what I always saw. So it's what I went with first, and I really always had good luck with them. I loved them. I thought they were comfortable to use. I have purchased an Exmark. I have purchased the Right Stander. Mm-hmm. I have purchased multiple Skags. I've tried other brands, but ultimately I always came back to Ferris mowers. And a lot of that I think has to do with my dealer support. But really, at the end of the day, it's just my opinion and the most comfortable mower and the mowers that we like to run the best. So, and I think a big part of that is because I have all the experience with them. There's really not anything that could ever go wrong with a Ferris mower that I wouldn't be able to diagnose. So I think it's just kind of one of those things, like I said about the trucks, it's just what I know, what I'm comfortable with. And I think, you know, nine times or maybe 8 times out of 10, when someone purchases something, you know, similar to this, it's, you kind of go with your gut, you go with what you know most of the time, unless you had a bad experience or you got a lemon of a machine. But, you know, typically it's go with what you know kind of thing, go with what you've had success with, or stay away from what you haven't. But in this case, it was just something that we had great success with. And like I said, I did try other brands just to make sure I wasn't missing anything. But at the times that I did that, Ferris was our best option.
Nice, man. Well, yeah, I always say I can't talk about equipment without throwing a disclaimer in there. Make sure you buy whatever mower is best for you, you know, because, you know, John Deere might work for you and Exmark might work for you and you might be a right guy. I don't know. It doesn't make any difference to me. My answer is always demo. For the love of God, watch my videos and then demo, because you got to figure out what works best for you. But man, I'll tell you, circling back full circle, dude, the Ferris lays some mean stripes. I used that Z3 with the oil guard. It was a monster. I'll be totally honest with you. When my rep pulled it out of the trailer, I was like, dude, that mower, there was no way I would ever put that on my lawn. It was so big. It was just a gargantuan size mower, right? And I don't know the footprint, like the width of it, but with those chunky rear tires, I mean, they've got to be, I don't know, 20 inches, 12, 15, 18 inches wide on the back. They're just insane. And dude, it did not tear up any lawns. The stripes were amazing. I love the Marbine blades, I think they're called. The hardened steel, you know, just amazing mowers. So I do like the Ferris people, like the Ferris equipment. They've been kind to me. And man, when I watch them on your YouTube videos, is that like your old farmhouse or whatnot? The one, you know, main one you keep doing all the drone footage on, man, because that is a beautiful property. The 2 acre, 3 acre property there. Is that yours? Yep,
that's my property. I bought that going on 3 years. But
nice.
Yeah, it's I love it. It's very peaceful. It's similar to where I grew up, or how I grew up, I should say, as far as the property. So I love it. The house is super old. My house was built 120 years ago in 1899. Actually, 121 years now. But
wow,
it's a super old house, but it's got a lot of character. I love it. We fully remodeled it. When I bought it, it was an old, dilapidated house, kind of like everything we've been talking about. But we remodeled it, and I love it. It's great.
That's awesome, man. Well, I mean, and that's the cool thing about learning this stuff. You know, be more mechanically inclined. You get skill sets for life, and you know what? Say anything did happen, or you did need to hang it up, or you wanted to hang it up. I mean, your mindset from business and entrepreneurship, let alone your mechanical skill set. I mean, you could write a 6-figure paycheck in any decent sized company in the world today. So I mean, what you're learning is way more valuable than just mowing grass and how to change oil and a spark plug. You know what I mean? So more power to you, man. Well, let's do this. Let's transition for like the last phase of this. We got another 10 or 15 minutes because I want to talk to you about what's Nickens Lawn Landscape up to now. You guys have been just dominating with, hardscaping, retaining walls, pavers. I watch on Instagram. I try to check into all your stories. You're always hustling. And so are you guys still mowing? Are you a mowing company? Are you guys transitioning? Where's the focus? Where's the next 2 to 5 years? No right or wrong answer. Everybody knows I'm a mowing business. I don't pretend to be anything else. And so, but identities change, businesses change, focuses change. Where are you at in that whole process? What's new for you? What can we expect? Hopefully you get capture some videos on YouTube as well. So what do you got going on over the next 12, 18 months?
Yeah, so I'm glad we're going this direction. This has actually been on my mind a ton lately. When I mean a ton, basically 24/7.
Sure.
So you say, are we a mowing business? We used to be a 4-day-a-week mowing business. That's pretty much all we did. And then we would pick up mulch jobs, trimming jobs, whatever we could through those customers, right? As a lot of people do. And that was kind of our 5th or our 6th day, depending on time of the year. But we are transitioning. I wouldn't call us a mowing company anymore. I'm not going to change the name or anything like that, but I would not call us a mowing company anymore. We're more of a landscape maintenance company. So if someone wants to sign a full contract for maintenance, we'll include lawn in that, but we're pretty much getting away from mowing anyone that's all we do for. If someone wants to sign up and have us mow their lawn, do their mulch, trim their bushes, clean out their gutters, whatever. If they've got small gutters, we don't go 2-story gutters. We only do short little 1-story guys. But, if they're looking to sign up for, say, 6, 8, 10, 12 services, whatever, then we'll take them on. We'll cut their grass. But we're not going after just mowing lawns. We're going after full contracts. So it's kind of going to be
smart.
I thought about setting a minimum on this because this is a really interesting topic. But we have a list of, say 12 things or whatever that we can do as far as maintenance go, like most companies do. They're pretty much standard depending on your region. But I thought about setting a minimum, say where you have to sign up for a minimum of 4 of these. And say lawn mowing would be 1, fertilizing would be 1, aeration and overseed would be 1, and say mulch or whatever, shrub trimming or, whatever. I thought about setting a minimum on that. I don't know if I'm going to go that direction. I'd be interested to hear your input on this, definitely, because this is something that I'm trying to debate. But we're going after landscape installs. We're going after landscape maintenance. We're not going after the lawn care type stuff. So, and we're trying to, any new landscape install that we do, we're trying to quickly wrap up the maintenance with that. Sign up now for, your maintenance for the year, and we'll do 1-year contracts on those, and they'll expire at the end of December, and we'll send out our renewals. We'll probably send our renewals with our Christmas letters is kind of what I'm thinking about doing for next year. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We are making a transition. It's been a big time transition, trying to just get everything set up and be ready to run and gun more for the landscape hardscape. But last year was just a lot of running around, kind of rampant, like chickens with their heads cut off, trying to keep up with everything. So I'm trying to pull a Brian Fullerton and stay in my lane. And I want my lane to be the hardscape landscape install lane. That's cool. That's kind of where my heart's at. I always enjoyed mowing until I did it every day. And it's one of those things, it's cliche, but they say, if you love something, you can either do it all day, or when you go to do it all day, you won't love it anymore. And that was kind of what mowing was for me. Literally, you know how it is. You get to the point you can't smell fresh cut grass anymore, and your shoulder always smells like fumes from the weed eater. So there's just, it's just not for us. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
but I still enjoy mowing, and we're still going to offer it as a service, like I said. But it's not going to be something that we shoot for. It's not really going to be something that we advertise for. It's going to be something that, when wrapped with packages, we'll definitely take care of it. Or if someone comes to us and asks for it. But I'm also gonna try to maybe inch my foot into some HOAs and things like that, since those are full package type stuff. So I think at the end of the day, the way it's going to work out is we're going to be mostly commercial mowing, because those are the ones that tend to sign the full packages. Homeowners are a little more hesitant to do so, just because they think they can do this or that or this and that themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, how I end up structuring everything. Planning on doing all this within the next 2 weeks. So
yeah,
like I said, very interesting topic. I'm glad you brought that up. But that's kind of where we're at now, trying to make our lane the landscape, hardscape install, and landscape maintenance.
No, dude, that's freaking awesome, and that's why I want to unpackage it a little bit here, because I like I said, my lane is mowing. I teach people how to grow a mowing business. But we had our live event, Entrepreneur Academy Live 2019, and we're doing another one this November on the 7th. A little plug there. But we had Caleb Ballman in. And I had some people ask me, like, why is Caleb Ballman coming in? Not like rudely, they're just, he's a paver guy, right? A paver patio install. And I said, here's the deal. A lot of guys that mow, there's a natural evolution. When you have a client list, there's usually two routes. People can add fertilizer, right? So a lot of guys are offering weed and fert and all that mess. So we had Jason Creel in. To expand service, because if you were to have 100 customers that mow, why not get 100 extra clients that you convert? So it was so common sense, right? And then the other side of it is a lot of guys do the lawn care, and like you exactly just said, they do one little retaining wall, then they do another retaining wall, then they go to a Techo Block event, and they're like, oh my god,
Yep.
and so they start doing retaining walls and larger landscape projects. Which I think is awesome. And so that's why I wanted to bring this up. And that's why Caleb was at our event, and he did just a banger job. Like he did, him and Brittany, they're a gem in the community. And so the reason I say all this is that, I'm a mowing business, but everybody fills a different role. And so I see a lot of guys, they mow, but they realize there's not a lot of profit in mowing a lawn, I'll call it. Now my business model is a little different. Like we go out 30 to 40 lawns a day because we have like hyper route density, and we have pretty fair pricing too. Like we do some decent pricing. So you can't do $1,000 a day in revenue usually with mowing. It's really tough for most guys to do more than $500 to $700 a day in revenue gross with mowing. The best guys, I don't say like the best, but like if you want to be optimized, you got to do $800 to $1,200 a day. And then you're just not going to scrape more than $40,000 or $50,000 a year net profit unless you're running higher numbers. If you just kind of work backwards, right? So what do people do? Well, they're like, well, I want the higher ticket items. Well, what's that? Well, sod installs, irrigation installs, and brick pavers and patios, right? And so I'm glad that you're talking about all this all too, because I want to know the business behind it. Like what do you see numbers wise? Was it just an economical move where you're looking at the financials? You're like, dude, we're making like, $12 every time we cut grass and we net profit on a lawn? Or were you like, well, I can do a retaining wall for $6,000 and knock that out in 4 days and, make $1,800? Did you kind of like look at some of the spread or what? I know your passion is like probably making beautiful things, right? Like you love the design. And probably like me, you like seeing something that goes from raw, ugly, undone to some beautiful work of art, right? Like you like that. You take pride in a job well done, right? But was it also some business stuff behind the scenes too, where you're looking at some numbers, or what? I'm just shooting the breeze here. No right or wrong answer.
Yeah, definitely. So this is another great topic. This is going to be a good podcast, Brian. But this is, I'm sure they all are, right?
Yeah, right.
But this, so it was kind of a combination of both, I would say. I definitely, no doubt about it, anybody that knows me personally or in business, I love taking something that looks like crap or is not functioning any longer or, a retaining wall that's falling down, or an unused backyard, and making a beautiful patio with a fire pit. I like turning something that's nothing, or something that's dilapidated, or whatever you want to call it, into something usable, something beautiful, something that is pleasing to the eye. So that was definitely a big part of it. But the profits, I think it's no secret, the profits are definitely larger. But a lot of times what people don't take into account is how much more the equipment costs.
Sure.
When you're talking about, a big paver patio, well, you got to remember, you got to get all those bricks from the front yard or the street or your trailer or your truck, however you get them there. You got to get those to the backyard. And how are you going to do that? Well, you're either going to spend all day picking up those bricks, putting them in a wheelbarrow, pushing them back there, which is definitely harder than, lawn care, pushing all that 400-pound wheelbarrows. So that's kind of justified that you should make a little bit more there. But it's either that, or you've got anywhere between 15,000, say, for an old skid loader, to 60,000, like the one we just bought, skid loader, to move those things. So there is more money there, but I think when you go through and you add everything up, it's kind of the first couple years you're really just paying for your stuff if you buy it, and if you're renting it, then you're really just you're kind of just scratching along, because the rental on landscape construction equipment can get really, really big, especially when you're looking at a paver type job where you may need 7 or 8 different pieces that you have to rent. So
right.
I would say the money's there, but I would say more than the money over time. At the beginning, it's really hard, and this is where, like you said, there's kind of an evolution there where you have a couple paths you can go, and it's up to you, and it's up to your business model, and really just you personally, where you want to take it and where you have passion. But it is kind of hard to just jump into the hardscape or to the landscape game, because you need a lot of tools, and if you don't have those tools, then it can just be an astronomical amount of physical labor. So it's one of those things where it's kind of, you either need to know that that's the way you want to go, or you need to just take a job and go out and rent the tools and know that you're not going to make it on this job, but at least it'll give you an idea of what you want to do. So for us, it was more, that's what we wanted to do, and that's kind of what we knew we wanted to do, and the way we wanted to take it. And, kind of facing the fact that the first couple of years, you're just going to be buying tools basically with your profits, or you're going to buy the tools and you're going to be in the hole until you get the job to make the profit. So
totally.
And I know, if you talk to read certain business books, that they're going to say that's a terrible way to do it. Don't go buy tools unless you have the work for them. But in this situation, it's kind of one of those things where you can't do the job unless you have the tools. So you're either going to have to seek out a mentor that you can borrow them from, or, like I said, pay the rental fees. And you can't rent most of these tools, so rental is definitely an option. But when you need something for 5 days and you need 7 of those, and some of them cost, 150 or 250 a day, I mean, it adds up pretty quickly. So you just have to walk the line there for sure.
Well, and I'm really glad you're talking about this too, because that's where I'm at, dude. Like, I want to grow my company, but I'm not overly ambitious to grow my company. Like, people are like, are you growing your business still? You taking on new clients? Yes, very, very selectively. Well, why do I say that? Well, I would love to do hardscaping and retaining walls, right? While we're on this topic. So I go to the Techo Block, and this isn't a put down to anything that I'm about to say, but here's the reality. I'm there, and there's like the ecosystem in the world of I'll just call it brick pavers and patios. I don't know what else you guys call it, like hardscaping, right? And while I'm there, there's all these the IQ 350 saw, and there's the blue little compactor, right? There's Pave Tool, there's Phase, there's the JCB, single boom skid steer, right? And then I'm like, okay, cool. And then there's material costs, and if you need, this outdoor kitchen grill, it's like, $7,000, $9,000 in materials and costs and labor, and you make 2 G's, and you can make that in a day, 2 days, done right. But I'm adding it all up. And by the way, you know what they didn't have in that ballroom? The $70,000 F450 dump truck, right? And I'm like, well, where's the truck? There's no truck in this room, you know? And
Yep.
so, and by the way, probably a diesel. 90% chance it's a diesel when you're hauling heavy, like you were just saying all day with those big skid steers. And so,
Just gotta have it.
yeah, nobody had a $10,000 Ram telescoping Ram dump trailer, which is $10,000, right? So I'm ambitious. I love my company. I want to grow my company. Who doesn't want to grow their company, right? Who doesn't want to make more money is kind of the idea. But when I look at like the pump and the brakes, I'm like, well, I can't really go down this route because I don't want to get in the fertilizer because I hate chemicals. Because I did the True Green thing and I vowed I'd never get around that stuff ever again. I look at the hardscape thing. I'm like, oh, full send, right? Hit the NOS. Let's do it. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's going to cost me $100,000. And Liz and I, like, we want to have kids. We want to start the family thing. I want to go into a different season of my life. Right. So I'm like, well, you know what? I'm actually really, really happy and content with where I'm at. Like, I don't have the biggest business. I don't claim to be bigger than I am or anything like that. But what I am is I'm really really self-aware of like where I'm at in this season, this phase, my finances, my life, my commitments, what I can do, what I can't do. Like if I want to supplement my income, I could monetize stuff on YouTube. I can, go get rental apartments or a rental house, right? I can flip homes. There's 100 things I can do on the side to supplement my income, other than just doing it with my lawn and landscape company. So I always call people, like when I talk about being a lawn entrepreneur, it's not like you're a lawn care owner for life where that's all that you do. Like you gotta really like everybody, I talk lawn care landscaping 24/7, 365 when you consume the content. But the reality is that that's like not even 10% of my thought process in my week. You know what I mean? Like there's so many more things I am than just a lawn care owner all the time. And so, a lot of words just to say that, going into hardscaping can be a great idea. It can be an awful idea. Again, just like being a mechanic for your own equipment. It can be a great idea. It can be an awful idea. But you just got to know where you're at. But I do want to kind of circle back. I want to stay on this topic for a couple quick seconds here because what's your opinion on somebody who went from a priority of a mowing business? Your focus was a mowing business, and now you're doing more hardscaping. I think the reason folks want to get in there is for that year-round income for those larger projects. Is that do you feel like there's more opportunity in general for those year-round contracts and those snow, especially up here in the Midwest, right? To do that versus just being offering as a maintenance business, or do you think it's equal, or what's your thoughts on being able to have year-round income? Because I think that's the first problem most people need to solve.
Yeah, and I think self-awareness, like you just said, is a big part of that too, and just surrounding awareness, because it's different in every area. Where I'm at, excuse me, where I'm at, there's not a lot of hardscaping going on in the winter or landscape installs. I think we've done 3 projects, 3 landscape type projects since Christmas. So we've got a couple in, but there's not, and those are all one-day projects. So there's not really a lot going on. I would say around here, at least, my personal experience, there's more year-round work in the maintenance side of it for sure. Just because you can wrap the snow, you can schedule a fall cleanup and a winter cleanup, in September or whatever. Whenever you sign your contracts around here, it's a lot. September and October is when the commercial contracts are getting signed. But
yeah.
If you can get those signed and you can wrap them up with a fall cleanup, a winter cleanup, a spring cleanup, snow, that's pretty much as consistent as you're going to get around here. The landscape calls will trickle in, of course, like anywhere else. When the temperature hits 55 plus, the phone starts ringing, right? Everyone's outside, they're barbecuing this afternoon, they're thinking it's on their mind. But we get a couple of those days throughout the winter, but not a lot. So just here recently, the end of January, and we've already got a couple of appointments beginning of February, but we have the people that are being proactive, trying to get on the schedule for, say, March or April. So we've got a lot of that type stuff going on, but as far as the landscape hardscape installs, there's not really a lot of that going on. Really mostly December, January, February, that's kind of dead around here. So
yeah, same here, yeah.
It's kind of hit or miss, depending on the year, but as far as consistency, and again, it's about self-awareness and area or placement awareness. But I I would say there's more consistency with the maintenance, but that's why I'm trying to structure this the way I am. I'm trying to, a big thing that has been kind of bothering me is that we do all these installs, but I don't lock any of them down on contracts. And why am I doing that? You're installing this, $5, $10, $15, $20,000 project, and who's going to maintain it? Because 9 times out of 10, the customer can swing a little mulch, pull a few weeds, or trim a couple bushes, but when real maintenance needs to be done, say resurfacing a patio, or you got to reseal a patio, or reapply poly sand in the cracks, or a brick dropped off on the edge over here, or whatever. Things happen. We're humans, it's nature, so things need to be fixed, things need to be maintained, and I think that's where I really need to step up my game. And I think a lot of landscape installers have this same problem.
Right.
I know a lot of landscapers have this problem because I've discussed it with a few of them. But
you think so many people are so narrow where they're I just got to install. It's design, install, and then they think they're a design and install firm, right? Where a lot of folks miss that last triangle corner piece, right? Which is the maintain. And you can make a lot of money probably just having regular maintenance accounts, right?
That's almost the most important one. Especially when you're geared the way that I'm geared and the way my business is geared. I'm never, I don't want to have 12 employees. I don't want to have, 30 employees. That's not my goal at all. I want to stay small. I want to enjoy my life. I want to be able to take off and spend time with my family. I don't want this to take over my life. And I think, the more contracts you get, the more of your life you get back, because when you can sign all these contracts at, like I said, in September or October for the following year, say you sign 30 or 40 contracts, whether that be maintenance, whether that be lawn care, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If you sign contracts for guaranteed money, unless there's some kind of crazy natural
catastrophe
change in the world, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's when you sign these contracts, unless there's some crazy thing happens, which if that happens, honestly, you're not going to be worried about your lawn care contracts or your landscape maintenance contracts. But when you can do that, you are already so much more at ease for the coming year, knowing, a lot of things are already projected. Things are on paper. Things are on the schedule. All you got to do is turn the key. When you're a landscape or hardscape install, you could have 40 or 50 requests one week. Or if you're a small company or whatever, you may have 5 or 10 requests one week, but then the next week you get 0.
Right.
Or say you get 5 or 10, the next week you get 40, the next week you get 4, and the next 3 weeks you get 0. It's just so hit or miss. And a lot of this comes down to advertising and brand awareness and how much you work on your brand in your area. It's all about local when it comes to that stuff, but
sure.
There's so many factors that go into it. And there's, like you said earlier, you need to know your lane. And if you don't know your lane, be careful before you take too big of steps, because you can quickly step into the wrong area. And you can make a monster out of your business, and you can get to a point where you don't know what to do or how to get out of it.
Sure.
And that's not a good place to be. I was somewhat there with mowing at one point, and it's not a fun place to be. And you just really need to be self-aware, but you also need to be aware of your needs, your wants, your family's needs, your area's needs. There's just so many factors that go into it. But
dude, there's so much meat, like, with what you're saying, like wisdom, really, because you're 10 years, you're 10 years in, but you talk like you're 40 on this topic, because you're living it, like and that's hopefully what I want people to glean from this podcast and all these podcasts that we share is, do what we did that was right, and stay away from the stuff that folks that came before you did wrong, and learn from other people's wisdom and experience, right? But there's so many things you just said. Like, I don't know what you just said like 20 minutes ago. It was such a good little thought process zinger. You said, like, what was it? Something about being passionate with what you do during the day and you'll hate it at night. What was that line? Because that was money, Or was that enough off the cuff, Nickens?
No, it was no. How I said, when you love something, if you love it and you want to turn it into a job, you're either going to continue to love it and it's going to be excellent and everything's going to be peachy and there's going to be a rainbow, or you're going to just absolutely hate it when you start to do it every day. It's and you'll quickly find out. But that's where you have to be self-aware and you have to just be careful how hard you dive into something, because you can turn something that you love quickly, very, very quickly, into something that you just can't stand anymore.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
It can be the same thing with, installing paver patios or anything. I mean, if you can either handle a ton of it or maybe not. Maybe you do 1 or 2 paver patios a year and you love it and it's awesome and you rent your equipment and you love to get out there and do it, but you just know in the back of your head, I can't do this every day.
Right.
And I think we all kind of have that thing. Some people hate paperwork and that's why they hire a secretary. I mean, it just, you have to know yourself, and you just have to just be really careful what you just try to take on too much,
That's so money, dude. Like I think you are, what is Shakespeare said, like to thine own self be true. Like you to me sound like an embodiment of that, because there's some things, man, by design, like you just touched on. Like, I hate paperwork. I hate back end stuff. I hate so much. I don't even want to do my own invoicing to like get paid for the 20 grand of mowing we just did. And my wife's like, hey, dummy. She's like, you work all month for this moment. This like next 2 hours, the invoicing part is the batch out is like the most important part. I'm like, yeah. And then like I'm supposed to end, charge card at the end of the month in my business model. And then it's like then the first of the month, and then it's the second. And she's like, dude, you need to run that through. Like, we need to get paid. And I'm like, I hate it. She's like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's so stupid, dude. Cause it's like money literally in front of me. I just got to like hit 2 buttons. Right. But that's how much I vehemently have hated paperwork the last few years as things get larger, because it's just, I used to be that guy. I used to be a behind the scenes, back of the office, back of the house kind of guy. And now I just like, here's the thing. Those things, if you don't pay attention to, you can cripple your business and crush you in so many ways. It's alarming. But so that's
100%.
But I've known my strength zone, and that's why I hire a lot of it out, and I pay a lot of people a lot of money to do all that, and I hate it, but I love it because it allows me to go do what you related to back a second ago, which is what I'm passionate about, which stuff that I am excited about, which is helping people with their businesses and running my own company and being a present husband to my wife. Like, those are the things that are more important to me than always just getting stuck in the mire of doing the dailies, but let's wrap it up because we got to close this down here. Give me any final thoughts, anything that's on Alex Nickens' mind, one thing that we didn't get a chance to dive into for like 60 seconds, or anything that you think somebody listening to this podcast that might be the Alex Nickens 10 years ago, any parting wisdom that you got for him?
Yeah, there it is. I like what you just said. The Alex Nickens 10 years ago. That's right where I was going to go with this. So a lot of people that are listening to this podcast, a lot of what we just talked about is new equipment and new things and bigger strategies, But it's, when you're starting out, none of that is relevant. I mean, it's all about the day in, the day out, one day at a time. That's the way you got to take it. And just got to know that eventually you will be there. Eventually you will have the new equipment, but work with what you got, man. It is what it is. Brian and I both started the same way. You gotta start somewhere, and you gotta get going. And there's going to be bright days and there's going to be dark days, but you just gotta, one day at a time, and everything will work itself out. But being self-aware and knowing your situation and truly understanding your situation, and not making up a situation in your head. Just tell it to yourself straight. It is what it is.
Yep.
If it's not something that you like, then change it. I mean, do what you got to do. But like I said, a lot of what we just said was for the more advanced entrepreneur, the more advanced business. But when it comes down to it, it's all the same principle. You just got to put it in your words and your perspective and your situation. But
dude, that's
just
awesome.
One day at a time, and we'll all be all right.
Dude, that's money, bro. Like one thing you just said, I always say, your situation is probably not. It's not probably as good as you think it is, and it's probably not as bad as you think it is.
That's right.
I heard somebody say that once. You're like, oh, my mower's stuck in the mud. hey, dude, well, other guy's mower just burnt to the ground in his trailer. So, like,
right. Or somebody got their whole trailer stolen last night, or yeah. I mean, it can always be worse. That's what I always say. It can always be worse, no matter the situation.
Yeah. And then usually something else happens, and you're like, well, it can't get any worse than that. And then my friend one time, he's like, stop saying that. He's like, he's like, every time you say it can't get any worse, it seems to get worse. I'm like, all right, fair enough. So
something else happened.
Yeah. Oh my God, it never ends. But no, dude, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the phone. I mean, here's the thing that nobody knows behind the scenes. We're shooting this pretty early in the morning. Or it's even earlier for you because of the time change for where you're at, your central time, and you were up since like 2, 3, 4 in the morning doing a salt run because of an unexpected snow squall that came through your area. And so
that's right, life of an entrepreneur.
Dude, and so I say that just to say thank you for, you could have very easily, respectfully just said, nope, I'm going to reschedule, rebook, and this podcast might not have ever happened. But I mean, dude, the stuff that we shared, I feel it was very inspired. We started the podcast. I said, Alex, I got no notes. I just want to have a conversation with you, bro. And you go, those are my favorite kind of podcasts and my favorite kind of conversations. And so I just sincerely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule and doing what you do. Anytime you're taking time away from your girl, anytime you're taking away time from, just being a bro to your brother, a son to your mom. Thank you for everything you do on YouTube. I mean, I'll be the first one to say that people that do put out content, they don't get the time of the day. I mean, everybody thinks it's easy until that person goes and grabs the camera and they try to do their first video and they go, holy shit, like this is a lot of effort. And I go, yeah. And then I said, now try doing 3 of those a week and run your business and not get divorced, right? Just having fun. So selfishly, I say thank you to you for putting out the content that you do because you and I, we fulfill different roles for sure, but no one role is any more important or less important. In fact, I'm humbly just such a huge Alex Nickens fanboy because I love watching your content, even if it's just watching you wrench and bust your knuckles on a GMC, which is pretty typical if you own a GMC. Just kidding. I had to get that in there eventually, right?
Yeah.
But no, dude, like thanks for taking the time to jump on the podcast. Do you think can we get you maybe June, July? We'll get like a mid-season update, see how things are going with your new focus on hardscaping and design, and see if you got any new cool things to share with us. You want to jump on and do this again maybe in the future?
Yeah, I'd love to do that. We can catch up. And like I said, a lot of what I said was just kind of on the tip of my tongue and kind of in the front of my brain. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how this all shapes up. But yeah, I'd be more than happy. Thank you so much for having us. We're a huge fan of you as well. Brian's Lawn Maintenance. Who doesn't know that guy, right? But seriously though, Brian, you and I know this, but I'll tell everyone else. We talk on the phone regularly.
Yeah,
we're buds, so it was just another conversation for us. But these are the typical conversations we have, and I'll use this as a moment to say, find yourself some buds in the business. If you don't have anybody that you talk to regularly, it's a good idea to do this local too. Find your local guys that you can team up with. Maybe someone that, like me and Brian, Brian does a lot of mowing. I do a lot of hardscaping. So find a guy that does the mowing or does the hardscaping and create a relationship, spark up a relationship, and you'll be surprised where it takes your business.
Dude, for sure, man. I love it. I love all of it, man. And again, just kindred spirits, man. Just helping people hopefully have a better life and a better business along the way. So, all right, dude. Well, that's it from this episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. If you guys enjoyed it and you enjoyed what Alex Nickens had to say, shoot a 5-star review. If you don't like what we have to say, shoot it a 5-star review. You guys know how it works. We're just having fun. But we appreciate all you guys listening, and we definitely look forward to hearing you guys and talking with you guys on the next episode of Fullerton Unfiltered. All right, guys, have a good rest of the day.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.